Today I'm going to be talking about how sustainable love takes time. It does seem that the one who abandons love is actually afraid. We could say of getting stabbed in the heart, or in the back, or of their past wounds. Maybe it'll happen again. So the specific defenses from the past can be preventing someone to speak up with their needs or boundaries that are completely not negotiable. No one wants to be the beggar or always the loser. And men have continued to choose power because it takes courageousness, right? Fear of powerlessness can be too scary to face the unknown. And they think no one can possess them because they don't trust their creative ability to find a choice when they're externally controlled from the outside, or to find richness in external poverty, or beauty in external ugliness. One has to be patient and pass the time until replenishment. When someone takes the love without doing the work, it's a temporary fix, but they're back to square one if they can't face the blockages and break their own rules and fight their own demons. So the daily practices that we do are as if each day is a mini lifetime. It's less rushing toward an accomplishment, and it increases love for what it is, not just what it could be or what it was, which we might assume is all that the love could actually ever be. And when we think about this, we go a little deeper. Love wins the power struggle. When we're wrong, being wrong means truth has changed. We don't know, like in a liminal space. Like, in other words, what we thought we knew, we were right, but then truth changes. Really, our truth changes. In other words, I don't know. That's facing the uncertainty. There's reasons beyond what we tell ourselves and what others tell themselves. There's a bigger healing. So everyone that's an other is a container for the pieces of ourselves that we're not realizing maybe that men are always trying to stay in power, for example. So like, if they find power in a different way, that's kind of like maybe it gets under the radar, quote unquote, getting effed over, like getting screwed over. Someone is not the same thing as someone taking the most precious or giving away what's precious, and they take it for granted, because it can be solved totally solo. It's, for example, you might think like, oh, it seems like no one will want to enjoy the shared validation of what really matters together, or the work that had to be put in to earn it. But first the love was free, then it became measured, and it was contaminated. When we talk about earning or getting narrow, or someone is subtly caging in to want less and have lower standards. And we can even think of this as like a moving target, or carrot on a stick, right? So when we teach where it's not obvious or apparent, it can be by force and pressure, or by gentleness and nurture. When we give the reality checks, it doesn't mean that we have to invalidate the person, their reality, just something specific. So we have to first check if they are any worse by glancing from the outside and at our actions, which tell us who we are more than how we already have labeled the phases of life. Because we hope to associate measuring the meanings, we hope to associate the meanings with the names, and that we have titled them, right? We've named the way that we show up, and then we become the new versions of ourselves. So like, if let's say being rich means having a huge art collection, someone might do that. But then it turns out being rich is actually going on vacation. Someone will, in order to stay in their meaning of a concept of staying rich, they'll have to now go on a lot of vacations. And so now we have to think about like a few things in specific areas. For example, what do I want as an individual, or an ideal partner, or in the group, safety in the group? And finally, like in a relationship, what did I get out of my relationships with men recently? So first of all, when we are thinking about what we want, it's not to want to be disappointed, not to be abandoned, rejected, or isolated, but rather a secure commitment, faithfulness, loyalty, devotion, and dedication, certainty. Obviously, it takes a lot of inner work to get there. You can't rely on another person for all that. And when we're talking about what we want, it's not about unreliability, contaminations, or agendas. It's about purity, authenticity, and trustworthiness. And we're talking here not about being exposed, violated, betrayed, or humiliated, but about appreciation, wisdom, patience, privacy. So clearly there's a theme here. We have to, on the inside, make sure that we're trustworthy, pure, and authentic. And also on the outside, we have to be appreciating, and we have to be wise enough to be patient and to give privacy. And it's also not about having our words twisted, misrepresented, to be pigeonholed or perverted. Even our words. There's understanding, respect, and curiosity. And in order to have that clarity and intuitive reliability, that inner, they call it guru, but like that inner connection, it's a learning, it's a protection. That's how we don't get misled, misguided, or confused. That's really taking responsibility for ourselves. And if we are in a field of kindness and sweetness and effort and genuinity, we would call this almost like old-fashioned. Like, we then, we can't be mishandled or mistreated or pressured or lied to or tricked, because those kind of things, like what's precious, like, in other words, when someone, God forbid, someone steals a diamond from someone, they're not stealing from the diamond, they're stealing from the person. So if someone wants kindness, they're not stealing from the kindness, they're stealing from the kindness for the person. So if we're in that field, in other words, we're able to be in that honest, genuine, good, sweet, we make the effort. Like, nobody's going to steal from the effort. They're going to steal the effort from the person. And then when we think about ideal partner, there's two sides. One, I want to go a little bit later and say, what did I get out of, when I wrote this, by the way, it's about 1 to 2 years ago, like, what did I get out of my relationships with men recently? And so I said, I have insecurities and unmet needs from self-care that can be hijacked. In other words, not giving myself the security and meeting my needs, somebody else could hijack that and sort of make me feel like that's my partner because they do that. Also seeking from loneliness, be it company or affection or reassurance or guidance, will lead me to even more loneliness or loss. Also, there's no one all light, all dark. Each is whole or healing to become whole. And I want a person who listens to me and understands the value of not always responding from self-will or fear of the past repeating itself. And they're quick to cut it off when they hear a word that they don't like. Like, I want a person who really listens to me. And then we talk about ideal partners. So now we're going like, okay, that's based on what I learned. Now, what can I imagine? Or like, and it's a little bit of a dangerous tightrope. On the one hand, we don't want to make up that we want somebody who we can't sustain. But on the other hand, what actually matches who we are? So I like this idea of holding hands no matter what. It doesn't have to mean literally physically holding hands, but in theory, whether it's pain or it's pleasure, continuing that hand-to-hand kind of bond. Whether it's beautiful or ugly, whether it's heaven or hell, whether it's scary or fun. And I find that when there's meaning in the mundane, like if ideal partner is washing dishes, cleaning the floor, it's about the mundane life, but there's a family value. And I mentioned hand-holding. If I want to be in a relationship where we observe the nida, which is the 7 days after the period, there's really on the highest stringency, there's no touching, not during the whole period and for 7 days after. So if someone has a 5-day period, it's altogether 12 days. If someone has a 7-day period, it's altogether 14 days. So and also for me, that's an exclusive sexual monogamous relationship. While I'm on my period and the days after, my husband's not going to be with somebody else. Plus, there's halacha there. There's rules. There's fences around it. For example, some people will not drink There's people who are traditional do not drink out of the same cup while the woman is a nida. And if you say it doesn't matter, do you want your husband drinking from cups from other women? That's what a friend of mine told me. So this is, again, I'm reaffirming being listened to, affection, validation, and there's a building of commitment and reassurance. So regular reassurance, not always to do damage control, but also as proactive, and commitment as preventative, like committing in that terms of holding hands, whether it's painful or pleasurable, understanding it's going to be anyway in life. So if at least, there's pleasure and laughter and inspiration and relief and communication, it's kind of like there's also times where it's going to feel miserable. That happens with or without a partner. So, and also I'll have a child for my love. I'll clean the house and cook for the members. So for me, the idea is that I wouldn't be willing to have a child on my own, but I'll have a child with someone who would be the father that I would want for my child, for our child. And now I want to talk about groups. So groups often were by couples and their children, so families getting together, or people who specifically didn't have families getting together for a common purpose or goal. So for me, I find that there's immunity from being hijacked or co-opted. Obviously, I've had some experiences where I felt like I was like picked, so someone could steal from me my kindness, my effort, all these things, and that's how I learned a lot of this. So it's possible you can be distracted from the temptations and the captivations. Also, there doesn't have to be extended eye contact or touch because there's so many people and the witnesses and the many versions of self, so we can let go of a particular set of traits, if necessary, things that are either causing us to be extra vulnerable or things that it's time to let go of. We can also adopt a group of behaviors like or perceivable expressions, because we're really being exposed to new ways of thinking and options, and we can unite through activities and shared goals. It says that to build a bond, you want to try new things with other people, whether it's your children, your husband, your friends, even at work, they have team building skills, team bonding skills. And also we can get feedback quickly from others, because even nonverbal communication, there's a lot going on as we observe the personalities and the good manners to avoid being outcast, because we all want to have like this civil sort of treatment. We're civilized, right? And as I finish up here, I want to share, a lot of this is about transformation. So as we transform the mixed to the pure, the dark to the light, the grief to the joy, the decay to the newness, the evil to the holy, the outer to the inner, the pain to love, and for me, and of course, void to the emanating. So like the sucking in to the radiating, loneliness to connection. And for me, the most important one is probably bitter to sweet, because my name is Shayna, which means like pretty or sweet. So from ugly to beautiful. I guess I have to add that, like ugly to beautiful. And when we're being the other for ourselves and for others, we're willing to take and to receive. Take is to take, and receive is to accept in, right? So there's this idea of the leviathan, the massive whale. There's myth parts of it, and there's teachings like archetypal sort of, or like holistic universal sort of guidance. This idea that everyone takes a bite of the leviathan to their fill. So being the other for everyone is basically the leviathan will feed everybody. How could a huge fish like a whale feed everyone? I mean, we know how huge the whales are, but there's billions of people. So this idea of being in a being, to be someone who is able to, everyone could take a bite out of you, but not really a bite. Like you're willing to let everyone take from you, and you're willing to receive from them. And so this is like a contribution representing all the women on behalf of the men. That's so sacred and heals the divide. The young for the old, whatever it is, like the man for the woman, the woman for the man, the young for the old for the young. It's basically like it's the sacrifice for everyone, but it becomes part of everyone. And they say also that it could be that it's only going to be for the righteous, who are going to get that true deepest satisfaction for real of life satisfaction, because the Leviathan is like this representation of the feminine of the life and the masculine of life, and there's two of them, and they would have destroyed the world as we know it if they would have been together. So they couldn't, they had to be separated. One of them may be in this like frozen like pause, stagnant state, like being held, waiting for the culmination period. There's a lot of interesting stuff about it, the Leviathan. Sometimes it's said as something that's very good, or like on the side of the righteous. Sometimes it's said it's not on the side of the righteous, it's more like destructive. So if you're interested, go look into Leviathan. I may talk about it in the future. I'm a fan of the topic. So I wish you well. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.